The universe is ginormous, extremely limitless. But that's what we all think, that the universe around us is something of an anomaly. But what about the multiverse itself? The multiverse is known to be infinite. There are versions of ourselves that are only a grain of sand different, but there are different versions of ourselves that are oceans different. Some universes we exist, some we are villains on another planet. Now, what does that mean for this universe? Curses run rampant in this entire Earth, this entire planet. But on this Earth, there was a boy by the name of Naofumi Iwatani that was far different. A perfect synchronization with who we know as the king of curses, or Sukuna. He would combine with Sukuna, and they would dominate for decades. But their perfect unison would flourish throughout this entire planet. They would do whatever they want, control whoever they thought, and all of what Sukuna and Naofumi ever wanted was there. Sukuna would dominate, kill, end the lives of many. Naofumi, on the other hand, would have the power to literally have anything he would want. If he wanted to take time out of his own day to play video games, well, guess what? He could do that. There was a perfect world that they were creating. A perfect time. But there's one difference. What happens when this universe flips on its head? When it's as if he wakes up and he spawns somewhere completely different. Sukuna and Naofumi would be transported to a brand new world, sent to a place that is extremely unknown, and this place would be known as Fabre, a country of an unknown area that was hoping to summon heroes. But this is different. They have summoned Naofumi Iwatani, the vessel for Sukuna. This is not what they wanted. This is something they have no idea what they're about to unravel. And this video is what if Naofumi was the king of curses. And if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Shout out to the boy Xblick for the thumbnail. It looks fire as always. And yeah, that's about it. And I think it's time to get into the rest of this story. Let's get it. Naofumi would be awakened in this brand new area. He would feel that Sukuna is still linked to him, but not 100% linked to him. He doesn't understand how that works, but he shrugs it off momentarily. He sees a bunch of these royal knights, heavily armored and obviously skilled, standing around him. Naofumi would look around and he would see something on his arm, a bit of a shield of some sorts. He would look at it and be kind of confused, take it off, put it on the other arm, put it back on the other arm, and frankly, not really paying attention to anything these other people around him are even doing. The reason for this is Naofumi has never been threatened, never been put behind on a place of power, at least not recently. His eyes, or Sukuna's eyes, would then appear beneath Naofumi's eyes, and he would begin speaking in a tone that was extremely eerie for everyone around. And he would say that he doesn't need this damn shield. He would touch the shield and it would vaporize. That shield that was supposed to more or less be invincible, something that was so strong that would more or less protect everybody, he vaporizes it. And Sukuna takes over, tattoos surrounding his body, and everyone is confused. What the hell is this guy? What is going on? That's supposed to be the shield hero, right? Now, Naofumi, or actually Sukuna in this regard, would begin speaking to them, telling them that he is no shield hero. He wants to know what this world is like, what is going on. They seem skilled, they seem proper. He can definitely use them in his army if they so choose. Well, it's not like you really have a choice. Sukuna would then begin to explain to them where he's come from, what type of power he possesses, and that he is the king of curses. And that is what he truly is. Curses bend to his whim, they listen to him, and he controls all. His power is beyond anything that they could possibly comprehend, and this oath that he's, well, vesseled up with just adds to the fire. In this, or in the previous world, Naofumi may have been kind of this lame person, a nobody, but this version of Naofumi is far different, talented, athletic, everything that you could ask for in a vessel. And on top of that, Sukuna was able to give him even more strength, even more power, even more technique. Teach him things that would even develop Sukuna's powers rapidly at the end of the day. This version of a Naofumi Sukuna vessel is far different than you could possibly imagine. Naofumi would walk forward. Tattoos fading away and the eyeball going away as well. Naofumi says that they might want to bring him over to the king. They would like to speak with the people around. So he would do just that. He would speak with the royalty at Fitoria. And he would make it pretty apparent that they have no choice in this manner. If they want any help from him, well, it's gonna have to be on his terms. And of course, they think that this is just an empty threat, but Naofumi makes it clear that whatever this gimmick of this world is, this is no empty threat. Not even close. Sukuna speaks in the back of Naofumi's mind, saying that all this world is going to do is make them far stronger. Sukuna appears once again, and he tells them that he can demonstrate his power if they so choose. If they want to see it, he can show it. In which they're confused, but he then slams his hand through pure metal armor, killing one of the strongest, more or less, fighters that Fitoria has, one of the strongest knights. He then looks at the king and asks if he wants to see it again. He does it once again to a similar armored fellow, and the king begs him to stop. Naofumi and Sukuna begin laughing simultaneously, telling him that he might want to show him around right now. So that's exactly what they do. They would walk around Fitoria, the kingdom of Fitoria, the country itself, showing him around everywhere that he could possibly imagine. Sukuna thinks about how he could get so much even more strong, or even stronger in this world. On top of that, he can do anything he wants. The power they have right now currently is already immense. Just imagine if they learn how to utilize the strength of this world. They begin to speak about it and even ask some questions about how to access some of the power that they have in this world. It gets explained to them as if it's some video game. And Sukuna, in a way, finds this amusing because the oath that he's vesseled up with, well, I guess he's not useless anymore because this kid knows a ton about video games. So once that's heard, Naofumi has a ton of input for them to level up, for them to strategize, and for them to take over things that they couldn't possibly imagine. Sukuna laughs and says that one or two worlds is better than one, so once they conquer this world, they'll go back to the other one to, have a bit of a vacation. Sukuna would walk around with some of the nobles of Fitoria, listen to what they're saying, soak in all of the information, but eventually it comes across the idea of the waves. The explanation is short and sweet. They begin to explain to him that he's summoned to help with these things, so-called waves. These waves are a catastrophe. They open up in the sky and monsters come out. And while Naofumi and Sukuna are listening to this, they are smiling inside. Monsters open up from the sky to come out to kill everything. Now that is something interesting. Very interesting. He says that he'll help with these so-called waves. He'll figure out a way to stabilize them, you could say. But he reminds them that he is no hero. He didn't summon no shield hero. This is far different. And he begins to question about the other countries, asking more and more. And let's just say the explanation more or less satisfies Naofumi and Sukuna. They hear that these other countries are going through the same thing. Fear, being terrified, death, everything that would allow him to get stronger. Everything that would breed curses. Naofumi and Sukuna now know what needs to be done. Naofumi begins to train, level up, and he begins to command many people in Fabray exactly what to do, making him certain armor or clothing that would allow him to wear whatever he wants, but actually get proper boosts out of that said armor. On top of that, he wants to have weaponry, anything that they could use, something that would fit them, in which they do just that. Healing, and so on and so forth. Anything you can think of that they would want, they would be allowed to get. Naofumi would begin exploring the country of Fabray, learning more and more about this world as they level up relatively easily, killing high-level monster after high-level monster. And with a week before the first wave that they're going to experience, he begins to travel across countries. He begins to learn about what's going on in every single country. More and more and more. He learns that there are 3 other heroes in something or in a country by the name of Melromarc. He begins to head over to those said countries, learning about what they're doing and what's going on, how strong they are, where they come from, and so on and so forth. It seems that every one of them come from a different version of so-called Earth, a different version of what they were made from. But still, that doesn't necessarily matter to Naofumi, doesn't necessarily matter to Sukuna. Nothing they have to worry about. All they have to worry about is getting stronger and controlling everything. That's what they want. The King of Curses wants to be the king of all, of every single country. That's the goal. So that's exactly what he's going to do. Naofumi begins to just learn and listen and level up as much as possible before the first wave. And now, after that first wave, he'll deal with all these other people. He'll deal with everything else. And he'll go check in on these so-called other heroes. With that said, though, the wave, or the first wave, is about to begin. The first wave is something of spectacular fashion. Now, Fumi looks at it and sees that it's a beautiful purple color. The sky turns inside out, and it's truly a magnificent sight. Truly something amazing. Now, Fumi told Fabray to have their so-called army in a different spot, their so-called army in a certain area, so that he could do whatever he wanted. He would stand on a mountain as the monsters would pour out, and as the main boss monster pours out as well, something that Naofumi hasn't ever seen. And same with Sukuna, their curses don't look like these monsters, but still, it's so interesting, so very interesting. Naofumi raises up on that mountain and instantly kills the first boss monster, and this is with very little help from Sukuna. We're talking about they're basically synced up to the point where in this world, it works perfectly. Now, Sukuna would want to have some fun too, killing all the monsters he possibly can before the wave fully peters out. And after every single kill, every single time they kill one of these monsters, it seems that they show up in their HUD menu more and more and more. An odd-looking chimera shows up in his HUD menu, a chimera that it seems that Sukuna will now be able to summon, and on top of that, to control, maybe even permanently. He does just that, summoning tons of monsters, and they all rise and fall at the hand of Sukuna. It's all up to him. Sukuna is smiling. He's been bored recently with what's been going on, bored with this easy world, or the previous world being so simple. Now it's different. Now this is amazing. It's going to be a massacre. Sukuna smiles as the wave peters out. More power than you could possibly imagine would be in those waves. Sukuna knows it. Naofumi knows it. And that's exactly what they're going to utilize to conquer everything. It's funny, really. They really thought that Sukuna was here to help. No. This is all a means to an end. This is all going to be in the favor of the King of Curses, so he could rule everything. That's exactly what Sukuna wants. So when the wave is over and everything peters out and everyone begins to celebrate, Sukuna is not celebrating. They begin to think that they should praise him. Maybe it's a way for them to survive. Maybe it's happiness that the waves petered out so easily, even easier than they could possibly imagine. But Sukuna's already gone, off to a brand new place, off somewhere else. Sukuna begins to do something different, something far different. He can feel that his presence alone has bred for stronger monsters, curses in a way. So that's exactly what he wants to look into. That's exactly what he wants to know more about. He can feel the fear, the sadness, the panic in so many different countries. So he begins to travel to each one. There's a specific country, though, that he feels there aren't as much panic as he would think. Peace, in a way, tranquility. He goes over to Siltvelt and Schildfrieden, but there's not that much there. So he decides he'll head over to Melromarc. Some other places he knows about as well. The outskirts of Melromarc, where there's slave traders and so on and so forth. He would then think more and more about this. There must be something they're missing. There must be even more than he could possibly imagine. And he would be correct. Because the first slave trader or the first slave market he would run across, he would see so many people, so many creatures in distraught. From creatures that looked kind of humanoid to that looked half humanoid, half animal in a way, to creatures that were not so friendly, monster-like. They look very similar to the ones of the waves. He would walk in and he would begin to see all of these creatures and he would smile. The slave market owner that was currently there would ask him if he wants something, and that some of these cost a pretty penny, in which Naofumi would tell him how much, or ask him how much, in which the owner would say that it's ranges from 2 gold, maybe even 10 silver, some being 500 to 1,000 gold. You know, the prices vary. Sukuna would then take over and then tell him, how about nothing? killing him in a matter of a split second, and then raising his hand as all of the monsters are set free, but then killed at the same time. Something he wanted to try out. He'd been learning more and more from Naofumi about this whole video game thing. So when he kills all of them, it seems all of them turn into some sort of ghost, you could say. Very resemblant of curses. Naofumi travels everywhere doing this, killing those who have fear and sadness and distraught in their hearts. Those who don't want to live anymore. They don't want to live within a slave trader, within some sort of monstrous environment. Frankly, this is charity for Sukuna. He's being nice to them, helping them, truly. Sukuna continues to go around doing this, leveling up exponentially. On top of that, he learns of the dragon hourglass, and he thinks about how he would even utilize that without quote-unquote partners. But he realizes something. These monsters he has, these people that he's killed and then more or less turned into curses now, are actually party members. They're leveling up as Sukuna's leveling up, which is a rapid process, and soon they will all be able to be even stronger. A progression system. Naofumi explains it to Sukuna exactly how it works and exactly how it could benefit them, in which Sukuna, his mouth waters at the idea. He wished he had this in the other worlds. Imagine, this is insane. He begins to think about the limitless potential, how strong he could make the curses that are in his control. And he, on top of that, he can control everything. This truly will make him the king of all curses. Every curse, everything. Now this is something that puts a smile on his face. Naofumi can tell that Sukuna is having fun. It's as if it's just like when they first met back on Earth. Naofumi didn't have a place in his life, was feeling such resentment, such depression, and then Sukuna came along, and eventually they destroyed everything. They got power that they couldn't possibly imagine, killing every sorcerer you would possibly even think of. All of them petered out of existence in a matter of only days. But this world is different. It seems Sukuna's having fun, gaining strength rapidly. It seems that everything is going to fall in place. But Naofumi says that there is people that may be strong or as strong as him. He explains that these other heroes that are summoned must have special powers as well, so there's something to be weary about. And Sukuna brings up the fact that if they can defeat and kill every single Jujutsu sorcerer ever, they'll be just fine. In which Naofumi believes so as well. But he's here to give Sukuna a wealth of information, carry his part in the deal. Sukuna nods slightly, and they continue to roam the outskirts of Melromarc, eventually arriving in the country. But the country knows of Sukuna. The country knows of the king of curses. So when he arrives, they all are waiting. And they're not waiting as a greeting party. They're waiting in a stance of fright and of fight. They know that this is serious. Sukuna is not here to have a lovely chat over some tea. Sukuna begins to ask about the other heroes, asking royalty and more people about it, asking about this so-called bow hero, sword hero, and what was it, Naofumi? Naofumi would then begin to speak and say, spear hero. Yes, bow, sword, spear. That's exactly what they were. That's exactly what they are. Weapons. But Naofumi then takes over and says that They don't have a weapon. Sukuna is the weapon. We are the weapon. Making it very clear that there is no fear here. Not at all. This does not, they do not scare Sukuna. They do not scare Naofumi either, and that's abundantly clear. They tell him, or they tell them, that they need to realize something. That these waves are not the only thing they're going to have to worry about. Soon, they're going to have to worry about Sukuna. And that's if Sukuna gives them the chance to worry. Maybe. Sukuna would then begin to leave, but the 3 heroes that he was looking for have arrived. A smirk would climb on his face, but Naofumi would tell him that killing them now wouldn't be as fruitful as later. If you want them truly to fear him, and on top of that truly want more allies of insane proportions via this power he gained with making his own curses, then he wants them to fear him, to be terrified, to fear death itself. Sukuna likes this idea and thinks it's a great idea. Sukuna tells them that soon he'll come back for their lives, but they'll have to look over their shoulder for a little bit longer. They all attack him, but in a matter of seconds, they're on the ground out cold. Yeah, if Sukuna wanted them dead, they would be. Naofumi is more or less not shocked, but impressed. The Sukuna that he knew wouldn't be able to adapt to such environments so quickly. Sukuna now knows that the strength that they have in this world truly can be petrifying. They would eventually head back to Fallbray in wake of the next wave, the second wave that they would have to deal with. But there would be no preparation. There would be no fear. Fallbray is happy that Sukuna is taking down the waves, but at what cost? And at what cost overall will it come down to? Sukuna knows that this next wave will be obliterated, so he awaits it. So when it comes, he absolutely destroys everything. The wave, gone instantaneously. Obliterated. The wave may have looked like it sent an army, but Sukuna sent an army back. An army of curses that he created of unbeknownst potential and insane and limitless strength. Sukuna's army, the king of curses, is truly becoming a lord. The lord of curses. Sukuna has defeated the second wave that he's fought, and let's just say people are getting worried, extremely worried. More specifically, Fitoria, the Fallolial Queen, sees what's happening. This monster that has greeted and entered their realm. The only way they can get new heroes is if he dies. And if he doesn't die, it might mean horrible things for everybody. But how do they kill him? There's no way. Even Fitoria isn't so sure. Even Fitoria isn't 100% with the idea of killing him. She doesn't know if she can. Not because she's not stronger in that base form, but he has an army. An army that is extremely powerful as well. This is not going to be as easy as anybody thought. Not as easy, not even close. Not even close to being easy in the long run. A terrifying aspect. Fitoria may be waiting in the back burner for the time being. But in Melromarc, it's getting torn to shreds. Absolutely obliterated at this moment. Because the wave might have ended, but the other 3 heroes were far too weak to handle what occurred. And that's because a hero from a different world by the name of Glass has destroyed and obliterated their confidence, and on top of that, made them terrified, made them fearful. Their cockiness is now wavered, and their cockiness is now turning to fear. Exactly what Sukuna would want. Naofumi Iwatani, with the combination of Sukuna, the king of all curses, has changed this world forever. Longer than you could possibly imagine, this world was saved by the heroes. But now it feels like the world is changing because of quote-unquote one of them. Sukuna and Naofumi are no heroes. It was actually kind of odd that they would have gotten summoned. Maybe it was the pure, misfortune of it, or maybe it was because of Melromarc's greed to want all 4 heroes in one spot, leading to him appearing in a different country, and now they will be suffering the consequences. But still, is there a way for them to take down Naofumi? Stop anything? Well, the person that would be able to do this is Fitoria. Fitoria, someone so strong that it would be unimaginable to think that she would, even have trouble with Naofumi or Sukuna. But they are different. Far, far different than you would possibly imagine than some regular hero. Someone that already had such stored power before they even arrived. Lifetimes of power, just like Fitoria herself. It's not just a front. It is not just a look. The power that both Naofumi and Sukuna have is unknown to everybody in this world. So far unknown that they're building an army with very little people knowing a word, a lick of what they're even accomplishing in this short amount of time. In a matter of only 2 months, they already have accomplished proper world domination, or at least the means of doing so. But Naofumi and Sukuna want something else. The other 3 heroes, they want them molded for something different, molded for war itself, so they can take over everything. But now here's the issue, the main issue. They're too weak, and on top of that, they'll be just death fodder. So how about they accelerate the process? They would arrive at Melromarc, and they would begin searching for the heroes, eventually seeing all of the terrible things they have done, but frankly, it doesn't really matter to Naofumi and Sukuna. They find them. They find, the 3 heroes, Itsuki, Ren, and Motoyasu. All 3 of them are heroes that were sent to this world in order to make peace, in order to save them from the waves, but they're useless. So why not make them not useless? Sukuna begins to fight all 3 of them at the same time. Blasts and super moves that they came up with are nothing in the wake of the army of curses and the king that follows. The king that leads the front of all of these curses. They would be tortured and then eventually killed. But that's not it. Their bodies would begin to manipulate. The power that they once held would begin to merge with curse energy, would begin to merge into a curse. Something Naofumi and Sukuna did not expect to happen. One of them begins to change in a way that of only having one eye. Changing his face, turning this flush white color, with his head turning into what looks like earth. Then it begins to protrude upwards, turning into some sort of volcano. His head would look so odd, as if it's some living landmark, and he would be extremely short. This curse would be resemblant of someone and something from Naofumi's and Sukuna's old world. With another one of the heroes, his eyes would disappear, rooting out or some sort of tree trunks in a way, sparking upward toward the sky. But with that, his body would derange itself, turn itself into this grotesque looking thing with marks of black falling all the way down its skin. And for the third hero, they would look very human-like, growing this white-looking hair as the skin begins to crack and change, as if there's splinters within the skin, as if there's stitches aligning every piece of its skin, across right underneath the eyes, across the forehead, on his wrists, everywhere. And as Naofumi and Sukuna watch this, the changing of these so-called heroes into cursed spirits, he looks at them and asks them if they're ready to obey. It seems as if they are ready to obey, but they are not mindless creatures like some of these other curses. Taking on different personalities and different features is something resemblant of Naofumi's home world. But even they know the pecking order. They do not mess with Sukuna. That is the person you stay far away from and you listen to if he so chooses for you to do something. Naofumi and Sukuna are a perfect match, and now with 3 special grade like curses, some even ranging about half of Sukuna's 20 finger power, well, at least in the past from the other world, stacked on top of that would be their leveling system. They all 4 of them would be powerful beyond comprehension, but the King of Curses will be all powerful in the grand scheme of things. They would begin to take over country after country, starting with Melromarc, taking over all the royalty, and even taking out the church before a weapon could even be used upon them. They would take that so-called weapon though, and Sukuna would begin to use it himself, using the energy, the curse energy, sacrificing curse after curse to instill power within that said weapon, power of the unimaginable. Sukuna would continue this brigade of destroying and changing everything, including some of these other wielders of different weapons, some of these wielders like themselves, just like the sword, the bow, and the spear, very similar to them. They are vessel weapon wielders, but these people would change as well. Curses that are extremely powerful would take their place as time would tick and time would go by. The wave that is soon to come will then eventually arrive. But before the arrival of that said wave, before Sukuna would gain even more power, Fitoria would come about. Fitoria and a couple of other of the vessel weapon wielders that are still alive and not completely encapsulated in the army of Sukuna and the King of Curses would arrive and begin to try and fight. Fitoria being the only one that even stands a chance, but even that chance would slip through her fingers in a matter of seconds. Fitoria dying in the process, becoming something so much more powerful, especially in the hands of Sukuna. This world is completely desolate, even faster than his other world, his previous world. The people that fought back were so much more competent. But now he's taken over everything. The power that this world has granted him definitely has backfired a whole great deal. So when the next wave would arrive, when the sense of the wave would cover the sky, when the purple in the sky would change and they would arrive at this weird island of some sorts, monsters leaping out of the water, well, Sukuna and his army of curses would see no threat Not even when Lark, Therese, and Glass would arrive. 3 people that were said to be from another world, said to be completely different. Well, these people are nothing. Nothing compared to Sukuna and his army of curses, dying in a matter of minutes. Sukuna would play with his food just for a little bit as he would desolate everything. The huge giant lake that was there, the ocean would split in 2. The power alone would be devastating. Glass, Therese, and Lark would fall in a matter of minutes, dying and joining the army of Sukuna, becoming extremely powerful special grade curses that would follow the lead of their king, the king of all curses. Naofumi and Sukuna, though, would continue to walk this path and continue to brigade every last bit. Eventually, the awakening of the spirit tortoise would come. But even this awakening would not be enough. It would be immediately cut down, eliminated, just out of pure instinct. There would be no familiar that would live very long. The familiar would die, including the spirit tortoise would follow soon after. That threat would be gone almost immediately, and the only threat next would be the ones of the other worlds. But is it really a threat? The king of all curses learns that there's even more worlds to conquer, even more worlds to walk through, control, to kill. Naofumi and Sukuna would believe that this is amazing. They can now massacre world after world. And if there are infinite amounts, well, they have a eternity to kill every last one of them and take over every last world. Naofumi and Sukuna will start this universal or multiversal takeover. Every single version of the world that they know currently will be theirs, taken over, and they will discover every last one of them. Every powerful being will be under the will of Sukuna, under the will of the king of all curses. But that is a story for another day, and a story that many may never know. But if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope y'all enjoyed, like I said, and I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.